Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here, and welcome to the SteadFast and Loyal podcast.
You gotta light them up before they burn it down. Better dig deep and put them in the ground. Blood on their hands, they're hellbound. Save us all. Ooh, they're gonna burn it down. Save us all before they burn it down.
This episode of the SteadFast and Loyal podcast is brought to us by our dear friends at the United States Concealed Carry Association. The United States CCA helps responsible Americans like you prepare for what happens before, during, and after an active act of lawful self-defense. USCCA members get life-saving education, expert training, plus self-defense liability insurance. Plus, a USCCA membership is always risk-free with their 100% money-back bulletproof guarantee. Membership is truly an investment worth exploring. Click Learn More below right now to activate your U.S. Concealed Carry Association membership. Click Learn More right now. And also, one of the benefits of being a member, you get their monthly Concealed Carry magazine. And as a reminder, the United States Concealed Carry Association is not an insurance company. A policy has been issued to the USCCA by Universal Fire and Casualty Insurance Company. That policy provides the association and its members with self-defense liability insurance subject to its terms, conditions, limitations, and exclusions.
Transgender kids is a really harder thing. What's going on in Florida is, as my mother would say, close to sinful. I mean, it's just terrible what they're doing. It's not like, a kid wakes up one morning and says, I decided I want to become a man, or I want to become a woman, or I want to change. I mean, what are they thinking about here? They're human beings. They love, they have feelings, they have inclinations that are, it just, to me, is, I don't know, it's cruel. And the way we do it is we make sure we pass legislation like we passed on same-sex marriage. You mess with that, you're breaking the law, and you're going to be held accountable.
Hey, welcome back to the SteadFast and Loyal podcast. What I'm about to say is pretty heavy, but it comes from a convicted heart. Joe Biden is disgusting. Now, I know that many of you may have thought that previously, but I've confirmed that in my feelings toward him. And the reason why I have this sentiment toward Joe Biden is because of a recent interview he did with, I guess, Comedy Central, whatever. The President of the United States on Comedy Central, resident of the United States. The issue was about this recent piece of legislation that was passed in the state of Florida that protects children. It protects children from these body mutilators, these butchers that are out there. The people that are going out and having our children, their bodies altered for life, putting them on hormonal therapies, putting them on puberty blockers. And Joe Biden had the gall, the audacity to say that my mother would say that's just sinful. Well, let me tell you something, Joe. You're disgusting. Because you remind me of what it says in Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. So in other words, what you're saying, Joe, is that the state of Florida, or parents or anyone, grandparents, who want to protect their children, you're calling that sinful. And so now you're talking about at the federal government level, coming in and opening up our children to this sexualization, to this body mutilation that is happening in conjunction with the medical industrial complex. And yes, you people out there that call yourselves doctors, shame on you. Like the folks there at Vanderbilt Medical Center who talked about how prosperous this would be, how this would be very good as a business plan to go out and get involved in mutilating children's bodies. And this is the thing I want you to understand. I don't give a damn what you do when you're an adult. If you want to play make-believe as an adult, if you want to go out there and get your body hacked up as an adult, go knock yourself out. But leave children alone. We're talking about children that, well, they can't decide some of what clothes they want to wear. Or we don't even allow children to go out and choose that they want to smoke, not even drink. They can't own a weapon if they're younger than 18. They can't go out and say, well, I want to get this Glock 9mm 43X. So I'd like to have this AR-15. No, they can't do that because we don't think they're mature enough to make that decision. So now all of a sudden, you progressive socialists, Joe Biden and others, you modern day acolytes of the Baal god Moloch, you want to destroy our children. And now you're saying that if we don't allow the mutilation of our children, then we're the ones that are causing them harm. When you all are the ones that are causing them to have suicide ideations or want to take their lives. See, here's the deal. God don't make mistakes. God made Adam and Eve. And we got certain plumbing, certain parts to go along with that define us. And oh, by the way, Supreme Court Justice Brown Jackson, it's pretty easy to understand what a woman is. You don't have to have a degree in biology to do that. But for you all to think that you can come back and correct what God has created, can I remind you of the story of the Tower of Babel? See, you leftists, you Marxists, you want to put yourself on the same level as God. You want to make people believe, man being male and female, men and women. You want to make us believe that we can reverse what God has done. We can change what God has done. You can't. Your DNA doesn't change. Chromosomes don't change. I don't care how much testosterone or estrogen you shoot up in yourself. It ain't changing. But where did this come from? I mean, in the last 10 years, I mean, this is really something less than the last 5 years. All of a sudden, we want to confuse our children. We want to damage our children. We want to harm our children. We want to mutilate the bodies of our children. And you got teachers out there. You got some schools out there that are not telling parents and referring their kids to have these surgeries and procedures done. You're disgusting too. Where's CPS? I mean, really? Child Protective Services? That's what our taxpayer dollars go to, our child protective services. They're not protecting our children from having their bodies mutilated. They're not protecting our children from being sexualized, being brought before adults, grown men, in this perversion of thinking that they're women and dressing up as so and frolicking in front of our children, exposing themselves. Where's Child Protective Services in that case? You're failing on the job. And you know, last week I had a little monologue talked about where are the men? Where are the dads? Where are the granddads? Because let me tell you something. My two daughters, now they're 29 and 26. They're women. And I understand what a woman is. But I'm a granddad now. My little grandson, Jackson Bernard, will soon be 22 months old. Let me just explain something to you. Anyone out there that tries to sexualize, tries to groom or tries to somehow get my grandson to believe that he should change his body, I will hurt you. And I'm not talking about hurting your feelings. And if this monologue is used later on in some court proceeding, you don't have to worry about it. I fully intend to hurt someone that would hurt my grandchild, Jackson, or my future grandchildren. Because I'm not playing this. And what Joe Biden believes, and these progressive socialists believes, and these grown-ups that are trying to undo what God has done and make themselves into God, little g, it's disgusting. And how can we allow this to happen? How can anyone with common sense, how can anyone with a sense of morality, a true north compass, believe this okay? And you parents that are out there allowing this to happen, like we have right here in Coppell, Texas, in the Jeff Younger case, parents are disgusting. You parents should lose custody of your children. If you are a parent taking your child to see a show of people that are somewhat mentally disturbed, and this is a mental condition, this whole gender dysphoria thing, that's what the American Psychiatric Association call it. But you are allowing your kids to be exposed to grown men, exposing themselves to them. You should not be a parent. You should not be a parent. You should not have a child. That's where Child Protective Services comes in. And Child Protective Services, when you hear about it, you should go in and just start arresting folks. That's contributing to the delinquency of a minor. What difference would it be if I were to take a child into a XXX store? You're taking them to a live sex show. And all of a sudden, we're supposed to believe that you're exposing them to some type of culture. You're exposing them to a perversion. And let me just explain something to all the folks out there in the LGBTQ whatever plus IA community. You mad at me? I'm mad at you. You think I'm going to sit down and take this and not say anything about it? You're picking the fight with the wrong dog. And I think we need to get more junkyard dogs out there. They're going to stand up and be vicious and protect their children from these demented, deranged, delusional adults who should not have children under their care. How did we get to this point? I mean, if I had come home from school one day and told my dad, the old World War II corporal, hey, Dad, I don't want to be Alan, the name that you gave me because I'm your son. I think I'm Aline. There would have been a conversation because my dad was the head of the household. My dad was my dad. My dad believed in Proverbs 22:6. You train up a child in the way that they should go so that when they grow old, they shall not depart from it. My dad gave me structure. My dad gave me discipline. And he would have told me that God made you just perfect. And then he would have asked me, who put that idea in your head? And just the same as I expressed, he would have put a hurting on somebody. Now, I'm not saying we go out there and beat folks up. But let me tell you what. When you threaten a child, the gloves come off. And that's how we have to start looking at this. There's a reason why they talk about mama bears. You go out into the woods, you start messing with a little bear cub, something's coming down on you. And it's going to maul you. And I think just the idea that parents are going to stand up and start fighting back and pushing back, that'll stop a lot of this nonsense and get kids out of these schools. And, really what I'm talking about is no different from what it says in the Bible, Mr. Joe Biden. It says in Luke 17:2, New International Version I'm reading here. It said it would be better for them to be thrown into the sea with a millstone tied around their neck than to cause one of these little ones to stumble. That's the Bible. Now, the leftists are going to see this and say Alan West is calling for violence. No, I say I'm just protecting my kids and my grandkids. And that's what parents are supposed to do. But y'all didn't say anything when Jane Fonda was recently on The View, when asked about what we should do about the people that believe in pro-life. And she said murder. Y'all didn't say anything when MSNBC and other leftist outlets dehumanize people that don't believe in their ideological agenda to the point where a Bernie Sanders supporter, I believe he was from Indiana, Illinois, he loads up his weapons, he gets in his car, he drives down to Washington, D.C., he shoots a bunch of Republicans, House and Senate members out there practicing baseball, almost killed Steve Scalise, person that I served with in Congress. You guys didn't say anything about that. As a matter of fact, I believe Joy Reid kind of blamed him, Steve Scalise, for being shot because of his policies and the things that he stands for and believes in. See, you're pushing the envelope too far, leftists. You can go out there, like I say, as an adult, do what you want. Knock yourselves out. Hack up your bodies however you want to. But when you turn your sights on our children, and that's what you're doing, when you're colluding with the medical industrial complex, then something has to break. I recall Senator Chuck Schumer standing up outside of the Supreme Court and saying that Supreme Court Justices Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, they would not know what will hit them. They will reap the wind. Now, see, we're supposed to be afraid of y'all. We're just supposed to cower and take it. No, not when it comes to our kids. And I live here in the state of Texas. Why is it that in the state of Texas we cannot do what they just did in the state of Florida? Pass legislation to protect children. I guess those campaign contribution dollars that Governor Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Patrick and Speaker of the House Phelan, I guess those dollars that you get from that lobby that wants to mutilate our children, that's more important than our children. Yeah, I'm calling you out. There's no reason why in the state of Texas we should have hormonal therapies, puberty blockers, gender mutilation surgeries being done on our children. It's not gender modification. You don't change gender. You're just mutilating their bodies. I find y'all disgusting too. That's one of the reasons why I ran for governor. Because we got a governor that cares more about who's writing him a campaign contribution check than doing the right thing. Let me repeat one more time. Isaiah 5:20, New International Version. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. The most sweet thing is our precious children. And you're trying to turn sweet into bitter because of your ideological agenda. I'm pissed off about this. Like I said, I'm a fighting granddad. And like that flag, the Gadsden flag says, don't tread on me. But even more so, don't screw with our children. SteadFast and loyal.
before they burn it down.